right, so thank you for tuning in to a live episode of A Business Minute. I'm Sirr, and today I got my co-host R.C. And we have a special guest, Miss Shermonicia Slaughter. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
All right, now today is a very important topic that we wanted to touch on because we are big at 2020 Podcast on personal health, mental health, physical, spiritual, in all facets. So we reached out to you because you're a mutual acquaintance of R.C. And we want to talk to you about domestic violence. And you've been very candid about your journey, and we just wanted to talk to you about it.
Yes.
So if you could, just as far as background goes, could you just tell what it is, that you experienced, who you are? Just introduce yourself to the world.
Well, my name is Shermonicia Slaughter. I'm 35 years old. I have 3 kids. Look at you, look at Casey. Look at you.
No, it don't matter.
Okay, I'm 35 years old. I have 3 kids. I'm looking to become an advocate for domestic violence awareness. Okay. I just want to get my story out there and help as many women as I possibly can, because when I was going through my situation, I had a small handful of people that helped me, but I really dealt with it alone. And so that's why I'm able now, because I'm healed from my journey, and I'm able to speak about it and just be open to let women know that it is life after domestic violence. It's a great life after domestic violence. You can't have your life back.
And I think that is important, to not feel like you're trapped, because from what I understand, that seems to be the recurring theme from the different people I've spoke with on camera and off, that you seem like there's no hope, that you're in this cycle. I mean, it may be with different people, it may be the same person, but still it just seems like it's inevitable and it's repeating. There is an increase on suicide rates with this topic, and I feel like those go hand in hand. So if I may ask, and of course to all that are listening, this is going to be a very candid conversation, so we may touch on things that may be uncomfortable for some to listen. If it is, I completely understand. How long were you involved in this situation?
4 years.
Goodness. Were there any things that you felt compelled to kind of stay that long?
I didn't love myself. I didn't know who I was. I felt that I needed him because I didn't have a father growing up. So I have 3 children by 3 different men, and each one of those men are my father. So it was almost like I was trying to get my father's love through them. And I just didn't know who I was. And so I felt like if I just kept loving him and pouring into him, then it'll stop. It'll go away. But it never did. And it just got worse because he would leave, and I would let him come back, and he would leave, and I'd let him come back. And every time he came back, it was worse too. It almost cost me my life. Like, I almost died.
Goodness. I know this is quite an experience. One of my first questions, I had a few questions I wanted to ask, and I'll let you go for, as long as you want. How did you guys meet?
Well, we went to high school together. We didn't know each other in high school because he was kind of like the popular football star, and I was just like, I only had one friend at school, and so that's kind of where it was. It wasn't until years later we were working at Cracker Barrel where we met each other and ran into each other. And it's so funny because like for a month I ran from him. Like I wouldn't answer his phone calls. I should listen to my right mind and kept on running, but I did. So that's like a month. I finally gave in, and we got to talking and kind of just hanging out. And then maybe like a month or so after talking, he moved into my apartment. Like I let him move in right away, and it just like went from there. So we dated for like 7 months before I got pregnant with our daughter. Okay. And that's when the abuse started, after I had her, because he didn't show any signs before. Now I knew he had a temper. He played football, so he had a little aggression about him, but it was never no signs at all, period. It wasn't until our daughter was like 4 months that the first time that he put his hands on me. We was at church, and I said something that he didn't like, and he held on to it the whole time. And so when we got home, we got in the house, he knocked me to the floor, like hit me in my face and knocked me to the floor. And I'm just looking like what happened? And that's when he said, well, you said this at church, and I didn't like it. And then my son was standing right there. He was 5 at the time, and he saw it. And I didn't know what to think of him. And of course it was, I'm sorry. It was just, it'll never happen again. It was all those type of situations right there. But that was the very first time. She was about 4 months.
Wow. Okay, so you mentioned red flags, and he didn't, show any signs. You did say something that caught my attention.
Okay.
The social aspect of him being an athlete, kind of being more popular. Did those play? Do you think those played any parts
Into his ego?
Yes.
Oh God, yes, because he was like, he sailed through school for as like people doing this work and just getting by on because he was a popular athlete. So
Right.
he pretty much kind of carried that into his adult life. Then like I can just do whatever I want. And then his mother didn't make it any better. She kind of sugarcoated and candid everything he did. So he felt like a woman's supposed to say yes to him and give him what he wanted.
Wow. I think that's important. And another aspect you mentioned is that the red flags, you didn't catch any until later.
Yeah.
A lot of times, on the outside looking in, a lot of people say that, well, you should have known when blase, blase, blase. There are a lot of things that everyone has tolerated before. Outbursts happen.
Yeah.
And they're not time sensitive either.
And that's kind of how he tried to play it off. Like, it was just a mistake. I
Right.
just was caught off guard. I was just angry. Can you just please give me another chance? And so I was like, okay, we can just start over. And then after that, maybe like a month after that, it went on for 4 years. It was like daily, weekly. Maybe it was, if I can just maybe go into some more detail. I know if you had another question that you wanted
please.
to ask, but it just
Sure.
went to punching. I punched in the face, slapped, kicked. He kicked me in my head. He would throw me against walls. He would lock me in closets. He would put knives to my throat. He would drag me through the house by my hair. He's knocked me unconscious twice. I don't even know what we was arguing about. I just know that when I was in the bathroom and I got out the bathroom, he just began to hit me in my head over and over. And I woke up, I was in my bed. His mom was there. He would call his mom when something would happen, and he told his mom I slipped and fell in the bathtub. And just forced sexual abuse in the way. If I didn't want to sleep with him, kind of forced himself on me and everything. And he has fought me while I'm holding our daughter. Like, he literally almost hit our daughter, like, in her head with a broom. Like, I was trying to get away from him and everything. I was trying to get away from him, and he almost hit her. And he wouldn't do anything to my face because I had to work because he wasn't working. So I had to go to work. I was a waitress at the time, so it was always like below, like neck below, just punches in my arms. I would have bruises and wear the long sleeves, and just, he would attack me sometime on my way to work and everything. Would have to pull over. It was just angry, and I couldn't figure out why I was doing. I was working, I was going to school, I was doing everything, but no matter what happened, I always got abused. And then he would leave. He ran back and forth between me and the other mother, his child, for 4 years. He got her pregnant, I took him back. He married her, I took him back. He was just there. And I felt like I needed him. I felt like I had to have him because I didn't know who I was. I put so much in him, I forgot about me.
Right. I'm glad you brought that around because I was going to kind of circle around back to it.
Okay.
You mentioned that this is a self-love issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you love yourself and place yourself first, you can recognize in certain situations that you need to fight or flight because it's not conducive to you. If someone's not contributing to your growth, you need to cut them loose. And in this situation, there are unhealthy people out there. Yeah. There are people who are, and I'm not trying to harp on the gentleman or anything like that.
And that was my thing, because he's kind of upset that I'm speaking out somewhat now. He's going around telling people I'm lying, I'm making up 4 years of abuse, I'm stuck in the past, and I'm truly not. I'm not trying to bash him, I'm not trying to down him. I would never say his name, even though a lot of people already know who he is, because a lot of people was there in the city when I was going through that situation. I'm not here to bash him, I'm not here to talk down about him. I'm healed from my journey, and I just want to help others. I just want to get my story out there to let another woman know that you don't have to deal with this, you don't have to put up with it. Love is not abuse, basically. It's not in no way, shape, form. And it wasn't only just physical, he emotionally abused me, verbally. It was all combined in one. Until it got to the point where I almost lost my life. Like, he literally almost killed me.
At what point did you for lack of a better term, wake up and realize?
It was maybe because I left him in July of 2011.
Okay.
So it had to be around maybe like May or June. I started going to the Penelope house like secretly.
Mm-hmm.
I started going. I was working with a counselor there because I didn't have anyone. I had people I talked to, but I didn't have any woman that I can be. I didn't have anywhere to go. And so he would tell me, because the apartments I lived in, if they found out someone was living with you, they would evict you.
Yes.
So he was like, you can call the police. I'm just going to tell them I was living here so you and your children be on the street because I can go back to my mother's house. And I was afraid. I didn't have anywhere to go. And I'm like, you would be okay with me, your child being homeless? He was like, well, he didn't matter. So I was going to leave. I sent my son away for the summer to stay with my sister because he didn't want to be there anymore. And it was just real hard. I had he was 5 and I had my new baby. And he hated him. He didn't want to be there. So I sent him away for the summer because I knew I was getting away. And I stopped sleeping with him. I started sleeping downstairs, and I just kind of like taking things out of my house because I was getting away. And the night that I almost died, he woke me up. I was downstairs sleeping, just normal. I had to get him to go to work. And he, of course, came down there. What are you doing? I know you're seeing somebody else. All the typical normal things that he do. And he just grabbed me, dragged me by my hair, dragged me across the floor, and he just started hitting me. I was bleeding from my mouth and everything. He would just call me out kind of names. Can I say cussing words or you can say cussing words?
We'll keep it PG.
Okay. He just started calling me out kind of names and everything. So I grabbed my daughter, grabbed her, and I just ran out the house. And I fell, and my daughter, she kind of fell out my arms a little bit, but she wasn't hurt. She just kind of fell a little bit. And he came out the door, and he was like, you blank, 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 you threw my baby. And then he hit me in my head, and it was just blood. I just felt blood just pouring down my face. And so I just panicked, and I ran. And so he ran behind me, because, he was an athlete. So he ran behind me, tripped me up, I hit my head, and he left me laying there in the field, bleeding from my head. I was bleeding. And I always say I know it's a God up above, because when I was unconscious, I saw my funeral. I saw myself in the casket. I saw my children sitting on the front row, and I just kept hearing this voice say, if you don't leave him, he's going to kill you. He's going to kill you. I don't know how I got back to my house, because to this day, he still say, I didn't bring you back here. I don't know, but when I woke up, I was in my bed, and I told him, you got to go. I didn't have any more fear anymore. I just said, you got to get out of here. And, of course, it was the same old, I called his mother. I said, you come on and get your son, because it's going. Then that kind of turned a vibe a little bit. He tried to, again, fight me, but you had to go. And when he left, I sat behind my door, and I just cried for 3 hours. I just cried, and after that, I got up. I got in counseling. I got in therapy, and I was already in the church home. I had a church I was going to at the time, and I never looked back. And that was 2011. I never looked back.
Now, something we frequently talk about is the fact that people feel as if it's taboo to seek therapy or counseling. Mm-hmm. Can you speak on that a little bit more?
Oh, I'm all for it. And that's one of my things that I'm hoping as me becoming an advocate, therapy is huge. Therapy really helped me. Everyone say you could just pray it away or just, and I'm for prayer. Trust me, because I have a great relationship with God. But get you some help too if you need, because I needed it. I had a lot of issues, mother issues. I had father issues. I had issues with men, of choosing the wrong men. Things I didn't love myself. I hated the way I look. I hated my skin color. I felt, I had to be perfect at everything in order to get someone to love me. And so therapy have just saved my life. I'm an advocate for it. Please get some therapy. I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with it. And I came up in a family where black people don't go to therapy. You don't go talk to anybody. You don't tell anyone your business. No, I'm all for it. I have a great therapist now. She's amazing. Mm-hmm.
Right. I think it's important to break those...
that cycle.
Right. That generational gap, because I keep saying, and it's a recurring theme again, what happens in this house stays in this house mentality. That needs to cease.
Yes,
whenever you continue that trend, people aren't healing. And we're having these toxic, broken people raising toxic, broken people.
And that's what I was. I was a broken woman. And then I kept attracting broken men.
Exactly.
And thinking well, we just going to be good together. And we were just shattered glass over here, just cutting each other every day.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Whoa. All right. So going back to your history after therapy, it's not an overnight process.
No, it's
and
not.
could you speak more on it? That process of discovering yourself, of
It's-
recognizing
it's
those things like self-hate
Yeah.
is not something to take lightly. Nowadays, I'm seeing more and more young girls saying that, "Oh, I hate my hair. You know, I hate
the way I look.
look.
I hate this. My thought.
Yes.
Yes. And I was
And
one of those girls.
That's terrifying
Yeah,
to me.
it really is. Because that's kind of all what I heard growing up. You know, I was like the darkest of my sisters. So, you know, I felt like, why couldn't I be light skinned like them and have the good hair? Why couldn't I look like them? And I hated the way I look. So I felt like, let me be great at other things so you're going to remember me. You're gonna remember Shermonica, and that was a trait I didn't want to give to my daughters,
Right.
because I have a light skinned daughter and I have a dark skinned daughter, and I want them to both know that they're both beautiful no matter what color their skin is. But therapy for me, it was so hard that I had to sit down and look at myself, because I had to realize I had a lot of things about myself too. I couldn't just only keep being the victim. Oh, my father wasn't here. Oh, my mother was on drugs. Oh, you know, I couldn't keep playing that role anymore.
Right.
So I just had to sit in my own mess, and it was hard. It was hard. And to realize that you stayed with someone who abused you for 4 years, that's a hard pill to swallow. It's like, wow, you really didn't love yourself. You had no type of respect or boundaries for yourself, that you would allow this man to have a child by another woman, to marry another woman, to not work, and then he's abusing you. You're covering up bruises, and you know, you're getting choked, and he forces you to sleep with him, and he's talking to your children in a kind of way. He doesn't care. That was a hard pill to swallow.
Right. And enduring as long as you did, that self-evaluation period is probably the scariest.
Yeah.
Because on the surface part of it, you only recognize the things that you don't like. You don't really discover the root cause until you start to dig into yourself.
Yeah.
And that's when you can find the ugly things that you may have to deal with. So I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you.
That the toughest part is recognizing and finding that root cause, not finding that, oh, I just don't like my skin color. No, why don't you like your skin color? Why don't you love yourself enough to cherish yourself? No one truly needs validation in anyone else. No one. Absolutely no one. And I think we've gotten very far from that. I'll say dangerously far from that. And unfortunately, social media, gossip, aren't really conducive to that.
No.
We're in an age of technology where people's opinions are treated as if they're facts nowadays, and that isn't always the case, because unfortunately there's 3 sides to every story. One person's side, the other person's side, and the actual truth. And you have to be brave enough to delve yourself into the truth of the matter.
True.
So kudos to you
Thank you.
for recognizing that and taking action. Now, you mentioned Penelope House. A lot of people may not be aware of what that is. Could you speak more on?
Well, honestly, I have been going to the Penelope House since I was a little girl, because my father abused my mother. So she would run and go there, and it's like a place for women. Back when I was younger, they had way more houses where you can go stay at. You just go stay there to get away. They help you get on your feet, but my mother would always go back to him. Like, we would just go there for a month or two, then she'll go back. She'll go back to him. But now they just have one solid place that you can go to. It's kind of like off the grid. You just have to kind of be in there. But it helps women with domestic violence who've been a place for them to come stay and be safe to get away. Because I know some women out there who had way worse situations than I had, But I just thank God that he spared me, so that, because my life could have been taken away too. I could have died out there in that field. I could have been dead. I could have been the one of them that did lose their life. But he spared me for a reason. And I'm not going to... I sat on this long enough because I was kind of afraid to not do it. But now I'm going to take that pain. I'm going to turn into something so I can help someone else.
Right. I think that's important. You have to take your experience and let it be a testimony and save other lives.
Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do with it? You're just going to sit on all that pain, or you're going to turn into power and help someone else?
Right.
Because I always say, whatever we go through, it's just so we can reach back and help somebody else. That's kind of what I live by. I just want to help other people.
I agree with you, 100%. And the fact that you're a personification of generational curses, seeing it happen before, you know, and taking the courage to break it yourself. That's powerful. That is absolutely powerful, because over the last couple of years, I recently moved back to Mobile.
Okay.
And in 2017, when I moved back, I believe in just the summer of 2017, there were, I think, 7 domestic homicides.
Yeah, those young women getting
Black
killed.
men. And unfortunately, people aren't talking about it enough. These conversations aren't happening.
Yeah.
So when Casey and I had a conversation, he brought up your name. I was all for it.
Yeah.
I was all for it, because this is a conversation I've been trying to have, but people are afraid, understandably so. But you being honest and being brave enough to talk about it today, hopefully you inspire someone to do the same. And even if you don't want to talk about it, go get help. If you're listening, if you feel like you're stuck, you're not. The worst thing you can do is sit and be silent. Let someone know. And if I may circle back around to something you said,
Okay.
you mentioned that sometimes your friends didn't have the best answer. Sometimes the people you would tell they might hit you with the statement, "Oh, that's crazy." Because I know that statement.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as a man,
The surface answers
right,
they give you.
right.
The surface answers.
And they may just not know what to do. I think you have to surround yourself with people that are forward thinking enough and care about you enough to point you at least in the right direction. You know, don't be afraid to be transparent with the person. Don't sugarcoat it. Be honest. Look, I'm afraid for your life. Seek help, because the worst thing that can happen is know someone's situation and then see a news report. You know what I'm saying? So I thank you. I thank you wholeheartedly for talking about this. So if you don't mind going back to what you're doing now,
Okay.
what are some of your ideas and visions for the future?
Well, right now I'm just like in the beginning stages, because I'm finally doing what God has told me I should have been doing to begin with.
Okay.
So I'm looking to start my own nonprofit.
Okay.
I'm kind of like in the beginning stages. I just want to start to help these women out here, and you know, I say don't be afraid to leave, be afraid to stay. That's kind of like, that's going to be my motto of my domestic. And I want to open shelters for these women. I want to get them some kind of counseling. You know, I just want to bring glory to God's name, because He truly spared me for a reason.
Right.
And so I'm looking to do more, more podcasts, to get my name out there, get my brand out there. You know, it's a passion of mine. It's my heart. And I kept sitting on it, because I was afraid. I'd be like, God, who is me? Like, who am I to go speak for someone else? But God said, why not you? You're here. You went through it. You can help someone else. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I have some other things that's coming up with me speaking. And I just really want to get my name out there and stuff, so I can get these and get help. Because, a lot of men get abused too. A lot of people don't want to speak about that, but yeah, men can also be abused as well. It's not just on the women. You have some abusive women out there too. And as men they don't want to talk about that. And hey, I'm open for anyone, man, woman. If you want to get some help, come on. So that's kind of like where my passion and my goal is that I'm trying to get. I want to be able to go all around the world and help. I have a vision. I want to open up shelters throughout the whole United States. I really, truly want to bring an awareness to domestic violence, because it's taking too many people's lives.
That's right. That's right. And with you being transparent, there are going to be people that's probably going to inbox us or will leave comments that may want to get in touch with you, because you can be a conduit of information. So if someone wanted to get in contact with you, how could they reach you, whether it be via Facebook or social media? How could they get in contact with you?
Okay. Well, I don't want to just give my number out, because I don't want crazy people calling my phone and everything. But if someone do inbox you or Casey, you can give them my phone number. Okay. But you can reach me through social media. I have a Facebook, I have an Instagram, I have a Twitter. I have all those.
Say them real quick. Shout them out.
Well, Facebook is just my name. Okay. Twitter is my name as well too, and Instagram I got my children's name up there, but I think I'm gonna change it back to my name. Okay. In the meantime, so after this interview, I'm gonna change all my social media handles to just my name, Shermonicia Slaughter. So you'll be able to find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Them about the only 3 that I kind of do everything on right there. And then my phone number, if they want to get that and stuff. So I want God to use me. That's what I tell God every day. Use me to be the face of domestic violence, to bring awareness to it. I'm ready, Lord. Like, I'm ready.
All right. And we're going to let this truck pass by before we continue. Because when I say we're live, we're actually at the Nova Espresso here downtown off Claiborne Street. If you're ever looking for a nice little chill coffee spot.
Yeah,
This is it.
right.
Casey and I, this is our second time together being here. And
I know, we both passed right on by because
right,
I showed didn't
right.
see.
Because I passed
It's like, what
right
is
by,
this
and it's like,
place?
I know it's here.
Mhm.
I know it's here, but it's definitely in the cut. It's really little. I don't even know the word for it. It's kind of modern, but I love the vibe here. So
Yeah, my GPS took me completely somewhere
look
else.
here,
Somewhere else.
Who you telling?
But it's nice though.
But
It's nice.
Shermonica, thank you so much.
No, thank
taking
you
time out your
both.
day.
I appreciate it.
Oh, we got questions.
okay, some
my bad. I
questions.
forgot we
Okay.
was live. I
Oh,
forgot
it's
we was live.
alright.
Come on.
Okay.
I'm ready.
I do have one question. I knew somebody who went through domestic violence,
Okay.
and they went through it to a point to where they ran off the grid, to where people was like looking for her, thinking that she was dead.
Mm.
And I remember a conversation I had with her, and one thing she told me, she was like, "Well, I do get on his nerves sometimes, and yeah, sometimes I do push him to that point to where, yeah, I probably do deserve a punch or a hit down."
Yeah, I
What
said
do you-
that too.
What do you say to the women who feel like they deserve to be hit, like they deserve to be kicked or abused like that? What
Well,
do
for
you say to people in
one,
that mindset?
I was that woman. I made excuses for him. Well, you know, he's had a hard day sitting at my house all day doing nothing while I'm at work. So I know I made excuses for him. But if I can say anything to the women out there, it's never your fault.
Right.
Arguments happen in relationships, don't get me wrong, but if it gets to the point of that, it's time to go, because one gonna lead to another, gonna lead to another, gonna lead to another. No one deserves to be hit. I don't care how angry you make him or how angry he make you. No one, is not your fault. You don't say, I don't deserve that. You don't deserve it at all, because what if it was your child? What if your daughter came and you say, well, he hit me and I deserved it? What would you tell her? Would you tell it, oh, you right, it is your fault. So why would it be okay for you if it's not okay for someone else?
Right.
And I would just say, when you love yourself, it's a lot of stuff you won't tolerate anymore. I'm telling you, you won't settle for it. You won't. And I did. It took me a long time. It took me almost 35 years. I turned 35 in September to love who I am as a woman and not to settle for anything.
I love it. All right.
And so,
Shermonica.
but I'm so glad that you asked me to do it, because I was talking with Casey. You know, I was just telling him I didn't know how to get started or where to get started. And so he was like, I think I have someone you can talk to. You know, I'm going to inbox my friend. I was like, okay. I didn't know that.
man.
After that, he was like, he wanted to do an interview with you. I was like, okay, there we go. And so thank you for this.
No,
Thank you.
like I said, thank you for taking time out your day. It's a beautiful Friday.
It
I was
is.
worried about it being too hot. It's a little warm. I got my rag, Casey don't. But I got my rag here for to pat my head. But yes, this is amazing. I look forward to having you again. I don't want this to be a one-time thing.
Me neither.
I would love to have you around and do a round table.
Okay.
Actually, I know October is Domestic Violence
Yes.
Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to set something up with you where we can do a round table, a panel, and we can go live again like this. And,
Please let me know. I would be happy to do it. Trust me.
We're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
So if you've been tuning in to the page, thank you for tuning in. This is 2020 Podcast. I'm Sirr, R.C. behind the camera, Miss Shermonica.
Thank
and,
you.
Y'all have a blessed day. That's it. That's it, girl.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you.